So, today I want to talk a little bit about the subject of gaining weight as a skinny guy. Now, when we all start off, you might be a little bit overweight. This video isn't for you. There will be weight loss videos in the future, but if you are a young guy or if you're a guy just starting your fitness journey, there is a high probability that you are extremely skinny. Most guys do start off skinny unless you obviously had an unhealthy upbringing and you might be a little bit overweight. But I myself had this experience. I was super skinny my entire life, just bones, hardly any muscles. And when you are what you'd call a hard gainer, right? Somebody for who it's hard to gain weight. Maybe you're an ectomorph, right? So your body is naturally quite lanky and skinny, like myself. I have a small bone structure, so my body is more accustomed to be like a runner's body or something like that. Whereas some people are mesomorphs, where they have a big muscular frame naturally, and some people are endomorphs, where they naturally have bigger bone structures and they're just bigger in general and they can look kind of fat. Now, this one's mainly for those ectomorphic people who want to become mesomorphic. Like for myself, I always had a very fast metabolism. I would longboard everywhere. I would be walking everywhere. Didn't have a car when I was young. And so for me, it was always very difficult to just get the right amount of calories to actually effectively put on mass. Now, there's a lot of differences to the kind of mass you want to put on. There is muscle, like actual clean, lean muscle. But then on top of that as well, you have your, I believe it's called glycogen. Glycogen comes from carbs. It's the way that your body stores carbohydrates. So long sugar chains essentially, and it stores it in the form of glycogen. So when you see somebody doing a bulk and they're eating a lot of rice, a lot of potatoes, and they're getting bigger, that doesn't necessarily mean that that is all muscle, but that is going to be glycogen stores. Or you could have visceral fat, actual fat. This can come either from eating too much sugar, simple sugars, or it can come from eating a lot of saturated and processed fats and things like that. So this is adipose tissue. It's a little bit different to glycogen. It's very different from muscle, and usually it comes around in the midsection. So you want to make sure that you're gaining the right type of weight, and there are two types of bulking regimens. Now, you might have heard this from bodybuilders or gym bros. You have your bulk, and then you have your cut. Real bodybuilders call this the off season and the on season. So the off season, you're just trying to put on as much weight as you humanly can. And then in the on season, you're cutting it all down and looking shredded. So you're bulking, you're putting on weight, you're eating like 4,000 or 5,000 calories a day, loads of protein, and you're gaining weight, literally gaining weight in the form of fat, glycogen, muscle. And when your body has too many calories, it puts away weight, but also your muscle grows optimally, because when you're in a caloric deficit, when you're not eating the right amount of calories, you're eating less calories than your body needs to stay alive and to function and to grow, you are not gaining muscle. So a really great rule of thumb is counting your macronutrients. That's what you want to be doing. You want to make sure that you can even go online, you can type into Google, type in muscle growth macro calculator, or just macro calculator. Macronutrients are nutrients like proteins, fats, carbohydrates, and fibers, because you're taking in grams of them, like many grams. Like for example, I currently consume maybe 100 to 150 grams of protein, whereas micronutrients are things like, your minerals, your magnesium, your zinc. They can be things like D3, they can be things like fish oils, whatever, right? Because you're taking usually micrograms or milligrams of this kind of stuff. And so that's why they're called micronutrients, and these are called macronutrients. So you want to find a very good macronutrient calculator, and you're going to input your weight, and you're going to input your height, and you're going to input how often you go to the gym, how many calories you're burning, how intensive it is, and it will literally tell you how many fats, how many carbohydrates, and how much protein you need to gain, you need to eat to gain quality weight. So this is very difficult to do, because I guarantee if you're somebody who goes to the gym and you're already eating a lot of food, I guarantee you are not eating enough. I guarantee it, because if you actually calculate how much you should be eating and then you look at how much that is in food, this will be like the next little step. You realize that you're under eating by quite a bit. So I once had a guy, he was eating a lot of protein. He was a big guy, and I told him how much protein he should be eating, which is about a gram of protein per pound of body weight. That is an optimal one based on studies. And when he looked at that, he was like, what? I've been eating 50 grams this entire time, because that is the recommended daily intake of protein by, the health association or whatever, right? And that is just trash, because that isn't calculated for people trying to gain weight. That is just calculated to keep your body alive and to keep your metabolic processes running. But if you want to gain weight, if you want to gain muscles, you have to eat more. And really, it's just very difficult. The act of putting in that much food into your body is very hard. So first of all, you want to calculate your macros. Then, once you've calculated your macros, you want to start looking at food and seeing how much macros it has. So, 100 grams of cooked rice. How many carbs is that? 4 eggs. How much protein is that? Each egg has about 6 grams of protein. So 4 eggs, so what, like 24 grams of protein in 4 eggs. Okay, how much does cottage cheese have? How much does regular cheese have? How much is in a protein shake? How much is in a mass gainer shake? You should get obsessed with looking at the labels of food, going online and calculating it. I mean, fuck, we even have ChatGPT now. Go on ChatGPT and say how much carbs or how much protein is in this much of this food. It will literally tell you. It's never been easier. The calculating part is very, very easy. You should always be looking at labels. Always. This should be an obsession of yours now. And you want to make sure that you're meeting those macronutrient goals that you have calculated yourself to get. Because you're going to need to stuff your face more than you've ever stuffed your face. You're going to need to be eating so much more than you can even physically imagine. Honestly, I'm stressing this point because this is what's so freaking important. If you are a skinny guy right now and you're having trouble gaining weight, the number one thing that's stopping you from gaining weight is how many calories you're eating and what your macronutrient profile looks like. Because if you just eat, carbohydrates, you're not going to gain the muscle that you want. If you eat just protein and no fats, you're not going to be getting testosterone like you need, or your hormones are going to be all fucked up because you need fats to make quality hormones. So it has to be a balance of those things. So just calorie count your proteins. I remember like when I was trying to gain weight, I'm about 6'2" and I was 80 kilograms. I remember for the longest time ever, I couldn't get past 80 kilograms. I'm about 105 right now, but when I was about 85 kilograms, I just remember I was a vegetarian as well. So I just remember eating like rice and beans and rice and beans and rice and beans just all the time, just making a curry, lentils because they're so high in protein, just stuffing my face with seeds and nuts and all this stuff. Because if you're a vegetarian or a vegan, it's going to be even harder for you to gain weight. And now that I've started eating meat again after 9 years of being a vegetarian, I eat mainly bison and organic, pasture-raised, grass-fed, grass-finished bison. And because it's just so healthy, it really, really is very healthy for you. And it's just exploded my muscle gains. It's exploded my mass. And really, I'm bigger than I've ever been and I feel amazing. My muscles are growing every single day. So you really want to make sure that not only are you eating enough calories, but you're also eating them in the right macronutrients. And then you're also getting it from a good source. Because I'm telling you, if you're eating lentils and there's 20 grams of protein in a can of lentils, and then you have the same 20 grams of protein in a steak, you should eat the steak. You should eat the eggs. You should eat the dairy products because those are more bioavailable. Bioavailability talks about your body's ability to process that food and actually digest it. Because if there's 20 grams of protein in a can of lentils, you eating that, you might not get 20 grams of protein into your muscles. You might get 10, right? You might get 15. You might get 5, depending on what food it is. Your body just doesn't process enough of it, right? And that's huge because you want to make sure you're getting it from the most bioavailable source so that more of it can come into your muscles. Now, protein shakes are great. Mass gainer shakes are better. Mass gainer shakes have not only your proteins, but they also have a bunch of carbohydrates, usually from a pretty healthy source, unless it's full of sugar. Be careful because some cheap brands of mass gainer shakes, they actually just fill it out with sugar, and you don't want that. You really don't, because you're gonna get fat. You're gonna have like loads of visceral fat, and you're gonna get like blood sugar spikes. You're gonna be like tired and awake all the fucking time. So avoid doing that as well. Make sure you look on the label once again, and you make sure that it's not just full of sugar, right? It's full of carbohydrates, you know, like oats, for example. If they get oats and it's blended oats, that's a good source of carbohydrates. You know, if it's like rice powder, that's a good source of carbohydrates. There are many great sources of carbohydrates. And if you are on a vegan or a vegetarian diet, you want to make sure that your protein is a pea protein isolate, preferably fermented pea protein isolate, because that's going to be the most bioavailable, because that fermentation process, it breaks out that protein so your body can digest it. You know, the little bacteria that do the fermentation, they digest it partially for you. And pea protein is a complete protein. It has all the right amino acids. I believe it is missing BCAAs, which is a class of amino acid, branched chain amino acids. We'll talk about them a little bit more in the future. So you might want to supplement your BCAAs, but pea protein is going to be your best bet. If you are somebody who does eat meat, who does eat dairy, your best bet is going to be a whey protein isolate, because a whey protein concentrate is great. It is still a lot of protein, but then what that is they evaporate milk. They get cow's milk and they just simmer it for a bunch, and all the liquid leaves, and they just have a powder, right? And the concentrate is that. It's a concentrated powder. Then they take it a step further and take all the crap out of it, all the stuff that isn't protein. And then what's left is called the whey protein isolate. That is all I drink. This is a whey protein isolate that I get from Costco. If you can buy it in bulk, even better. The bigger the bag, the more you're going to be saving yourself money-wise. So get yourself a great protein shake, preferably a great mass gainer shake, because it's so easy. Eating a big bowl of rice and beans is gonna make you lethargic, it's gonna make you tired, it's gonna make you full and bloated. But drinking a mass gainer shake is fast, it's cheap, it's effective, and it's a great way to get those extra calories, a bunch of extra protein right into your body. And you can have 2 a day. If you just drink 2 mass gainer shakes a day, as well as eating a regimented diet, maybe it's in your break, maybe it's in a time where you can't eat. So I have a protein shake. It takes me just a few minutes to make it and drink it. It's so easy. You just pop milk or water, shake it up, drink it, bam, few minutes done, and your body's just gotten a huge injection of carbohydrates and proteins and just good stuff to feed those muscles. Because you want to make sure you're gaining weight, because when you have all this weight, you're in a caloric surplus. And when you're in a caloric surplus, you can grow muscle. And when you're bulked up and you have a bunch of glycogen stores, if there's ever a point in the day where you get hungry, your body isn't gonna start cannibalizing your muscles. Because if you're super skinny and you don't have a store of glycogen or a store of fat, every single time you get hungry after a workout, your muscles need food. They need both the protein, which is like the iron, and they need the calories, which is like the heat of the forge. And so you're using, a blacksmith analogy. You're taking the materials as well as the energy, and you're combining them, and you're beating the shit out of this, this muscle fiber that you have, and it's recovering time and time again. So when you're in a caloric surplus, you are able to actually gain muscle throughout the entire day. So if you are somebody who is a lean gainer, who is a hard gainer, whatever the hell you want to call it, if you're somebody with a high metabolism, if you've been called lanky or skinny and you're sick of it because you want to be big, you want to be strong, you want to be like those guys that you see around who are huge and the girls love them, and don't fucking fool yourself. Girls love big muscles, and it's a whole load of bullshit what they're feeding you, and they're saying like girls don't like muscle. Bullshit. A muscular man makes a woman wet. It makes her knees fucking quiver. And she can deny it all she wants, but that is what they look for. They look for the tallest guys, they look for the most muscular guys, and they might in their own little feminist brain say, no, I don't need that, I don't want it. But then look at the guys they fuck. Look at the guys they date. It's exactly that type of guy. So if you want to be more attractive to women, you have to gain muscle. If you want to look like a dominant man, you have to gain muscle. Because honestly, nobody's intimidated by a skinny guy, right? Nobody respects a skinny guy. But if you're somebody who comes in and you have a well-built, big physique, suddenly all the guys respect you, everybody wants to be friends with you, all the girls want to fuck you. So if you want to attract women into your life, if you want to feel better about your body, if you want to be more confident, if you want to be less intimidated, and if you want to be less anxious, right? Anxiety is linked to a caloric deficit. If you're in a caloric surplus, you just naturally a happy-go-lucky guy. Why do you think fat people are so happy? It's because they are never in need of calories. Their body can just sap those calories from those stores of fat and glycogen. So once you gain a bunch of weight, you're actually more confident. You're actually happier. Your moods improve. And you're stronger in the gym. If right now you're working out in the gym and you feel weak, gain some weight. You're going to be stronger. It's crazy. Whenever I'm in a bulking phase, I can deadlift more, I can squat more, I can bench more, simply because I weigh more. It's this weird phenomenon that happens. So if you are a hard gainer, this is what you do. This is the final thing. If you don't get anything out of this video, do this. Calculate your calories to gain weight and your macros. Plan a diet which includes cheap, effective foods like rice, potatoes, oatmeal, and loads of high quality protein like meat and eggs and whey and a bunch of other stuff. Plan a meal that is inexpensive and have a bunch of this food available, and then force feed yourself every day. And that means stuffing your face. That means eating way more than you can. That means you have a plate of food and you can't finish it because you're full. Well, guess what, motherfucker? You're gonna have to. And you're gonna eat it, and you're gonna stuff your face, and you're gonna keep eating until you're a bloated fucking mess, because that's what it takes. But it gets easier, guys, because if you do that for long enough, you gain enough weight, and then you don't have to do that. Then you just take protein and you work out. And it's so much easier to gain weight and to gain size. So it's only for a short time, maybe for half a year to a year, that you really need to gain all this weight. And then you can work on sculpting that weight and turning it all into pure muscle. So yeah, you do that, you stuff your face. And the great thing about this is once you expand your stomach, once you keep eating more than you're used to, your stomach actually expands. And when that happens, you go a little while without food, you get ravenous, you get angry. It's like this weird like rage inside you opens up and you're like, I need to eat more. And it will become easier. It will just become second nature. Great way to do this is with mass gainer shakes. Make sure you get yourself a really great mass gainer shake that doesn't have too much sugar, and just do that and just keep eating it, because it is all diet. No matter how much you go to the gym and work out, no matter how many heavy sets you do, unless you're in at least a slight caloric surplus, you will not be able to grow the muscle that you want. You won't be able to recover fast enough. So really take your health into your own hands. Your metabolism is fast only because you weigh so little. But if you change your metabolism, and this happens with time as well, if you change the nature of your metabolism by gaining more weight, it becomes so much easier to gain muscle. So do yourselves a favor and go ahead and do that.